MedBix Webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present-day healthcare challenges on our live programming. Welcome to the MedBix Webcast. This is Ramana Namaraju. I'm the host. So I have a very interesting, guest today. After that, I'm going to present a topic. The guests are, I don't know whether you all know or not. There is a book, very famous book, autobiography of Yogi. In that book, he mentions people living in thousands of years in the Indian Himalayas and all those lands. He mentions that. So I think the present, the guests I'm going to introduce you, may be living on this planet for a long time, maybe thousands of years. So we will ask them. So it's remarkable certain diets and everything that can, in particular areas, that you live longer. I came from a very orthodox Brahmin family, so I was a vegetarian all my life. So then I came to the United States. I came to Canada first. So one day I was watching in the university canteen, cafeteria. Then I thought these tomatoes, on the pizza, and the dried tomatoes. Somebody said, I thought these dried tomatoes. Then I ordered that one and I started eating. Somebody said that there is a pork. Then, thank God, my mother is no longer here. I'm telling you right now. So she would have tempted me to the hell. But anyway, it is a diet is such an important factor. Now the vegetarian diets are coming back. India is the epicenter of the vegetarian diets. The 60% of the population in India eats a vegetarian food. So because of this, we have a processed food, all these things. We have to really understand why this is. There was a reason to it. I don't want to justify it, but there is a reason. Is we can produce with a modified grains and all those things, produce large quantities and can feed a large number of people. That's the reason we got the modified, genetically modified foods, GMOs they call, right? So, but that it has a side effect, chronic diseases, and it was bigger effect, not side effects anymore. So it has a chronic diseases, cancers, and all those things are growing up. So we need to ask these two young couple. Let me, without a further ado, I'm going to introduce you after that. I'm going to introduce you a remarkable woman from MIT, environmental champion, a physicist. She really sustainability institute she started. It is a fascinating woman. And then I want to bring people from history that they were not known. They actually women are trivialized in the science, history of science. I want to bring them back and show them why, such as their contributions to the world of science. But without a further ado, let me bring this long-living, mysterious couple from. They travel around the world, all over the countries. So let me bring to the stage. Welcome, Markus and Stacy Naugle. So welcome to the MedBix Webcast.
Thank you for that super kind introduction.
So I told them we may be living in 1,000 years, so nobody knows. But explain to us, what is just your background? How did you end up in? You're coming from Ecuador, Cusina, right? Cusina, if I say it right. So tell us a little bit about your background, why you were there, and where that led to the journey of Ecuador to you.
Sure. Well, about my personal professional life, I would start in 10th grade. We were on a field trip and we were doing a water study of a river, and we ended up on the mountain near the headwaters of the river. And I remember kind of bashing through the brush and looking for the source of the river. And my biology teacher that year wrote my annual, "Keep searching for the headwaters." And I think that's when it really sparked my interest in asking more questions. So I studied biology But then I came across Eastern medicine. And that was a way for me to search for the headwaters. What is the truth? Where is the source of longevity? Where is the source of health? It's not just in Western science, but in Eastern science as well. And so I went to school and got my acupuncture degree 7 years later and became the 240th acupuncturist in Washington State at the time, when it was still quite a fringe healthcare system, even though about a third of the world uses acupuncture and Asian medicine. So that was my entry into my professional life. That was 1995. And since then, I've traveled to many different countries, trying to learn from the people there about what are their health secrets, what are the things that they do to promote health and longevity in their populations. And that is part of why we have moved to Ecuador, because in Vilcabamba, Ecuador, in the south of the country, in the 1970s, a group of Harvard scientists came to Ecuador to study the Valley of Longevity, as it is called, and to try to understand how they live such long and healthy lives. So we moved there for about 6 months, met a lot of people, and have been learning about the cultures in Ecuador and the habits that support healthy longevity.
And I think Stacy skipped over her 30 years of clinical practice as well, and thousands of clients, around the world too. So I know she's being modest, and I'll share that as well. Myself, as Ramana said, my educational background is a degree in molecular biology from MIT, and I studied some neuroscience and worked in a neuroscience lab as well. And I leveraged that into working in the management consultancy industry for suppliers to the healthcare industry, mostly biotech companies, but device companies, diagnostic companies, as big as back then Hoffman La Roche and Merck and Bristol Myers Squibb, and down to small individuals in a lab who were in licensing and out licensing technology. And so I looked at a lot of different biotherapies. I looked at a lot of different technologies. And we worked with a lot of opinion leading physicians around the world in order to try to understand how we can prioritize the best technologies so that we can address the greatest need. I leveraged that into Genentech, where I worked for quite some time as a product manager and a strategic analyst for Activase and tissue plasminogen activator, TPA. And we took that through the FDA for clinical trials for acute ischemic stroke, with the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke. And that was an invaluable experience, again, because we, really got to work with opinion leading neurologists, opinion leading emergency medicine physicians, cardiologists as well, because it's obviously used for pulmonary embolism and acute ischemic stroke. Past that, I've been trained as a yoga instructor and worked in ashrams and gymnasiums and correctional facilities like prisons and drug and alcohol recovery programs. I've been trained in transcendental meditation, and I'm a firefighter and an EMT, and I've also been the regional director of a science-based marine conservation organization in the Salish Sea in the Pacific Northwest as well. And so I've looked at diet and its effects through healthcare for not only personal health and gain, but also for planetary health as well, and how what we eat not only affects who we are, but it affects how we live in this entire planet Earth.
You know that we are nowadays in the United States and everywhere, in India also started eating this processed food and eating in large quantities, a lot of sugar consumption. We used to eat a fruit like once a week, once a day. That is supposed to be the case. Now we are concentrating this sugar in everywhere. Tell us a little bit about the change that happened in our intake of the food, and what is causing the troubles in the dieting itself.
I think one of the things that we've tried to do is we've tried to buy time. I think all of us are very busy. I think all of us wish we had another 24 hours in our day. I think we constantly feel behind and are very stressed in lots of ways. And I think that fast food, I think that taking time away from food preparation, from growing food, from acquiring food, from preparing food, and from eating food communally with your family or within your community are traditions that have existed from time immemorial in indigenous communities that we now have completely forsaken because we do not think we have time to eat well, when in fact it's probably the most important thing that we could do for mitigating our stress, for increasing our energy, and for providing the maximal probability for high output, for high function, and for longevity. And I think when you look at the blue zones, you know, the Harvard physicians in the 1970s started to study where the people lived the longest, not only the longest, but the longest with the highest quality of life. And they found, you know, 5 or 6 or 7 places back then in the 1970s. It's now down to 5. And if you look on Netflix with Dan Buettner, he's taken the work even further. But they found 5 places where people regularly lived to over 100 years of age with a very high quality of life. And when you look at what the key success factors are for where these people live, very healthy and in very healthy ways, they eat very simply. They eat mostly a plant-based diet. They have a reason to get up in the morning. They have a purpose. They have meaningful relationships with friends and family. They move naturally every day. They don't necessarily exercise or go to the gym, but they're gardening. They're walking down to the, you know, into their local village and meeting people. And, you know, Michael Pollan, who wrote The Omnivore's Dilemma, summarized it as succinctly as I think that you can possibly summarize it for what the key success factor is. And it was eat food, not too much, mostly plants. And for me, for 30 years now, a little over 30 years, I've eaten nothing but a vegan diet. I've eaten nothing but a plant-based diet. And for me, it's empowered me to climb Mount Kilimanjaro up to nearly 20,000 feet. I've logged thousands of scuba dives down to 150 feet below sea level. And it's allowed me to keep up with my 11-year-old son and my 9-year-old son at 56 years of age. And so, you know, I can only say as a scientist, I've experimented with myself and it's worked extremely well. And we've experimented with it in our family as well, because our children have been plant-based since conception, and they're extremely bright. They're multilingual, they're multicultural. They're way too energized for me.
Very tall.
They're very tall. They're amazing kids. I just couldn't say enough good about our kids. And I think that our diet and the way that we choose to create our family around food has been a very big part of that.
Excellent point you made. You know, that time is one of the factors that we try to invent the shortest way of getting food to our table. That is a bigger factor. And communal eating is gone. These are 2 factors are, you know, killing us, the humanity, in fact, in the way. You know, you were the Blue Zone diet. What they eat actually in the Blue Zone diet, my daughter actually asking me before just 2 days ago, just before I was about to talk with you, she was asking about a Blue Zone diet. You know, she lives in San Francisco, and I didn't know much about it. So tell us a little bit, what is the Blue Zone diet? What it consists of?
You know, in the 5 different official Blue Zone diets that were studied by Dan Buettner, as Markus had said, it's mostly plants. It's about 95% plants, and most of those are local. The Blue Zone places that are currently talked about are Okinawa, Japan,
Nicoya, Costa Rica, Icaria, Greece, Sardinia, Italy, and Loma Linda, California.
And so each of those places have their own cultural history, and the diets are different. But the things that they do have in common is that they are not processed foods. They are fresh foods. They're from the garden. They're mostly plants. And when they do have meat or eggs, or in some places dairy, they're more for flavor, or they're occasional. They'll have a small bit of meat with their food once a week. So it is primarily plant-based. And every culture has its way of making sure that they're meeting their nutritional needs. So in Japan, the purple yams are very big. And in Loma Linda, California, it's an American diet, but it's mostly unprocessed and it's vegetarian. What are some of the other things? Like in Italy, there's so many of the tomatoes and peppers, and it's such a vegetable-oriented, wonderful social eating culture.
In Greece, they found herbal teas were popular. And in all places, they found that people were active You know, in the United States, you might find people that are 80 or 85 or 90 years of age, but many of them are not very active. And some of them might be in assisted living or they're in long-term care facilities. You know, in Japan, it's a great Netflix thing to watch because there's a 103-year-old woman who's dancing around like she's 25. And there are people that are gardening and they're squatting and they're sitting on the floor as opposed to sitting in their electric lounge chair or in their bed. You know, they're walking down to the local village to have a glass of wine or a cup of coffee with their friends. They're moving. They're continuing to live life. They continue to have a reason to get up in the morning. They continue to have people that they want to meet and create life with. And they're continuing to feed themselves, in many cases with fresh air, because most of them are coastal. They're near the oceans. So they're getting an influx and an outflux of air that's nice and fresh. They are, in some cases, at elevation and altitude. So they're walking up and down elevations. And, you know, they also have access to fresh grown, mostly organic food that their ancestors have eaten for hundreds of years.
You know, Marcus, Stacy, we have a very strange situation we are in the so particularly from Silicon Valley. You can order Amazon, you can order grocery stores online, but they don't understand what it takes. They have to dig in the earth to bring all those items. They eventually end up in the digging the earth. You know, all these orders. You know, they think the order is coming from somewhere. It's not coming from the Mars. It's coming from here. So all these people, they have this forgotten what it takes to, it is actually a destructive path is behind the scenes, is just we are digging we are, that we are hurting the planet by doing this, sitting at home and ordering these foods and ordering the groceries everywhere. We're all using for, as you said, there is a time factor, right? So we are all doing that. But there is some danger too behind this thing. Is not only personal health, it is a danger to the environment itself. Tell us a little bit about environment and what do you think of the environment that we need to protect?
Well, you know, it's really interesting that you're in San Francisco and you're in the Silicon Valley area. I lived there in the early 1990s, 30 years ago as well. And I read a statistic once, and I won't be able to quote it, and I hope it's accurate, that Silicon Valley, before it became such high tech and developed, that there was 80 feet of topsoil in Silicon Valley. It was one of the richest, most fertile valleys to grow food, probably anywhere in North America. And we basically, built on top of it. And, we've lost that land. We've lost that ability to feed ourselves.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I want to add that point. When I came here from Atlanta, Georgia, I eat strawberries in California. I eat any fruits. They taste so good. I stay in the co-working space. She brings her lemons. They taste entirely different, than any other place that I've been to. It is really amazing how the rich soil is, as you said. Now we are doing something. Or go ahead. So this is I wanted to add that point.
There's lots of statistics that we could share, and it's a big part of the conversation. But when you eat more towards the plant end of the spectrum as opposed to the carnivore end of the spectrum, and there's something right for everybody, but the more that you can eat towards plants, the healthier it is for your own personal being, but the healthier it is for the planet too, whether it's methane production, whether it's trucking the food from South America to North America or Asia to Europe, all of the carbon dioxide, all of the methane emissions from the cattle, all of the land and the deforestation that's happening in Brazil in particular, which is considered the lungs of the planet. All of our oxygen production is coming from the rainforests, and we're cutting them down left and right so that we can graze cows. And, there's a balance. There's a sacred balance for planet Earth. And I wouldn't profess to know where that balance is, but I think that we've passed the point where we're living in a healthy way for ourselves and equally as importantly for the entire planet, because the life that we're living right now is not sustainable by every scientific measure that you look at.
Stacy, tell us a little bit about the place that you're at. You're surrounded by mountains and Andes mountains. Give us a little bit description of the place you're around, you know.
Oh, well, thank you for asking. I wish I could bring you and all of your listeners here to
Mhm.
go up to the rooftop and look out over the peaks of the Andes Mountains around us. We're close to 9,000 feet in the city of Cuenca. So it took a little while to adjust coming from a small island in the Pacific Northwest of America. It was a big adjustment. But one of the things we love so much about living here is that we can get food from the tropics to the four-season fruit, and it's all grown within a day's drive of where we live. It's just amazing. We can go to the fresh market and we can get fresh coconuts and bananas and pitaya and papayas and mangoes and pineapples. But then you go up a little bit higher because there's snow here. We're 3 degrees off the equator. But when you're up high enough, there's snow. And actually the Cotopaxi mountain here is the tallest mountain on the world if you measure it from the center of the planet due to the equatorial bulge. So we have some very high mountains here. So we do get the beans and the stone fruit and the tomatoes, and we get everything. And we love to cook. We love to cook together and to share it with our family. So that's one of the things we love most about being here. But we are very high in the Andes. So many of the plants we don't recognize. And the mountains are old. They just feel and look so old. They're not jagged, like they've been thrust up recently. The mountains around us are worn down. They're worn down and soft and beautiful.
You're not that far from Amazon, right? You're right away. Yeah.
I was going to say, for such a small country as Ecuador, everybody talks about Brazil for biodiversity, and it's huge. Brazil could be its own planet, basically.
Mhm.
But Ecuador is tiny, but it's one of the most biodiverse countries on the planet because it has the Galapagos Islands, which 60 to 80% of the species in the Galapagos Islands are found nowhere else on planet Earth. And then you have the whole coastal region, like Stacy says, which gives us all of our tropical fruit. And then we have the Andes Mountains, which run down, the west coast of South America, and we're up at 9,000 feet. And then we spill down over the other side of the mountain, and we're in the Amazon. And we have the Yasuni National Park, and we have Quechua and Yasuni indigenous peoples, and we have all kinds of amazing wildlife. And so for as small as this country is, it's ethnically diverse with its indigenous populations, but it's biodiverse in a way that most other countries aren't on the planet. It's got 800 or 900 species of birds. It's just an amazing place to take in nature, and we're naturalists. We love wild animals. We love nature. We love to be out in it, and so it's a big part of the reason why we eat the way we eat. I eat the way I eat, and we eat the way we eat with our family because it promotes our personal health. But I want to go see the wild animals. I don't want to cut down the rainforest and only look at cows.
We are all envy of you guys. Actually, you're making us tempting. You should make arrange tours, and a lot of doctors allowed to come down and see the place. It's absolutely wonderful. You're describing a small heaven, particularly people who are stressed. The doctors and healthcare professionals in this country are stressed to the limits. They're going through a tremendous crisis around the world. All the healthcare professionals. I think you would be a greatest refuge, your place, and then you should arrange that kind of things. And then when I get back, and I'm going to present a topic on the environmentalist, one of the famous woman of a woman scientist. After that, I'm going to come back and ask you where they about, how do people can reach you, and what kind of things you do, and the courses you do. Let us talk about that, and let me present you and me going to watch together. You can jump in anything. You can make a comments. I encourage you to make any comment you like, and then you can jump in any of my presentation. Okay, this is Stacy and Markus Naugle from Ecuador, right on the equator itself. Okay, guys. So let me bring to the side both of us. That I'm going to bring. Okay, now I see we're on the side. We can see. I'm going to present a topic on that if the world were 100 people, what is this? I was talking about a woman who did the studies. If the people are 1,000 people, if they live in, what would be the planet would be? She is an amazing woman. and the people don't know much about her, but I'm going to talk about that lady. Her name is Donna Meadows. She's a professor at Dartmouth College. She's a State of the Village report she produced in 1990. It became a huge hit. It said that out of 1,000 people, in general, 5 soldiers, 7 teachers, 1 doctor, 3 refugees. It didn't change much in the 90s to now. But that is what she did. Okay, I am going to present a topic. If I were, I've got a video of if there is the world is inspired by her. If the world were 100 people, what would be? So I'm going to play a video for you. Watch that video.
The 100 People Foundation is asking 500 schools from 100 countries to nominate 10,000 people to help us find the 100 people that best represent our world population. We've created a lesson plan that explains how a student can nominate someone they admire from their local community and fill out a community profile that helps us understand where they come from.
This is my school house. Masaya ako na interview ako, na camera ako. Masaya ako na nakilala ako nila ma'am, natulungan nila ako. Masaya ako. Lalo na sila, masaya ako. Kasi hindi ko sa dekalain na ganito, interview na ako, may camera ako. Kasi sa amin, wala.
We are asking the children of the world to introduce us to the people of the world.
I think this project will really open the eyes of a lot of people that we're not alone in this world. That it'll be good to see how everyone else lives in the other side of the world.
Irsi bakala dori dumduma din imirga bora kulmete mefo imdu doro din kaban bora imfai bora kulu imete mefo imfai di yanja asibuni.
So Donna Meadows she was born in, this is a professor, Donna Meadows. That video was inspired by 100 people, is actually inspired by Donna Meadows. Donella Meadows is born in Chicago, she's in suburb of Chicago. She got the PhD from biophysics from Harvard. She has a MacArthur Fellow. That's one of the highly respected degrees. Oh, let me bring, I don't know what happened. Okay, that's okay. So she was born in outside of Chicago, 1941. Okay, she died a long time ago. But I would So she did a computer modeling in MIT where Marcus went to. She was in the computer side. Actually, she was working in a with a professor who invented the magnetic storage place. That she system dynamics is a kind of a thing. The moving parts of the system. Any system you take it, the phone, any system. It doesn't need to be engineering. It could be anything, any system, economic system, financial system, agriculture system, anything. You can apply healthcare system. You can apply the system dynamics. So Donna Meadows is she traveled around India like Marcus and Stacy. She took the 1960s. She took a ambassador car, a very small car from India. She traveled across all these countries: India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran, Turkey, and Sri Lanka. She spent a whole year traveling around these countries, and then she learned about the planet Earth and the people and everything. That's a really blessing. Just learning around about other people, what Marcus and Stacey are doing right now. So that's going to be, so they did that, the husband and wife together. So she in 1980s and 90s she published a two runaway bestsellers. It's called Thinking in Systems, and then The Limits to Growth. These two books are all the government leaders, policymakers, head of the states, academicians followed this book. After 1960s, she sold half a million books, and then more than translated all her books into 28 different languages. She is sitting down in Dartmouth College. She became really one of the change maker. She is, so what are the system thinking is, I'm going to give you a little bit of leverage point. She creates a leverage points. Let me bring a little bit of I got eyesight problems, so I'm going to bring in my, yeah, that means, sorry about that. I thought I did it. Okay. But anyway, actually she's talking about, just a minute, I need to bring it because, yeah. Okay, 1 second. Sorry about that. Yeah. Okay. So I can read much better because I have a small screen. It is a little bit of a challenging for me once in a while. So actually, yeah, thinking systems in healthcare. What she did was, yeah. 1 second. Sorry for you guys. That a little bit. Yeah. Now I can see it. Thinking system in healthcare. What she did was she created a model for the humanity, the framework for the artificial intelligence. In fact, the human centered. The Stacy and Marcus are talking about human centered approach. All this technology cannot independently exist. It's for humans. It cannot run our lives. There are tools to, only the advantages. I'm talking with Marcus and Stacy because of the technology, but that should not be the center of the technology. That's human connection it should be the center. That's what she realized at Donna Meadows. Donna Meadows actually gave the framework before even the word existed, actually, artificial intelligence. So she gave one of the called thinking systems in that book. She wrote on the whole and their parts. She says that the sum of the parts, if we combine all the parts of the system, you combine them together, bigger than the whole is bigger than sum of all its parts. If we combine all of them together, the whole is bigger than sum of its parts. Very counterintuitive idea. So in healthcare, for example, holistic approach. If you have diabetes or cancer or any other disease, that you're approaching an individual thing, it is not perfect because the holistic approach is that is a bigger, which is bigger than an individual disease, individual eating, whatever the habit, lifestyle, all that, combine them together. But the bigger thing is bigger than that. That is the holistic living. That is the whole is bigger than some of its parts. Then she talked about interdependence and feedback loops. A lot of doctors complain about the electronic medical records. Electronic medical records are creating a lot of pressure. because they cannot change anything. It is coming from epic and a big systems, they dump on them. There is no feedback loop. They cannot do anything about it. So we need a feedback loop system. She really talked about a human-centric system. The Donna Meadows is talking about feedback system. So the patients can give feedback and change the programming itself, the coding itself, and then do the program fits the local needs. That's a feedback system. So critical in electronic medical records, which is not there. That's why a lot of doctors are frustrated, doctors and healthcare professionals. So boundaries, and the second one is the boundaries in the operating system, open systems. You know, we in the United States, everybody knows the healthcare system is in a catastrophe because we cannot talk each other. The doctor in one office cannot have the information about the same patient from the next door. It's just crazy. The system is just out of the boundaries, or we don't have an interoperability system. It is a legal framework, it is a technical framework, clinical framework is not there. Just talk, big talk, that's all. We need political leaders need to solve these interoperability systems among the healthcare system. Understanding the complexities, she is talking about all these things. She gave the methodologies for all of them. Overuse of antibiotics, for example, by people eventually affects all of the rest of the people, because we develop a multi-resistant diseases for the antibiotics, so we all get affected. So it's like an emergence of a project from a small number of people. It affects the entire people. So that's what he's talking about. The thinking systems is a very powerful social structure, human-centered approach to the modern day problems she did in 1960s. So another one she did, if you see the framework for AI healthcare, she could talk about leverage points. She talked about very, very like a professional way. She explained the framework for AI. High level, she calls it leverage points. Leverage points. High leverage points are disease to prevention. That is a bigger task. It produces a tremendous amount of good results if you move our systems from disease to prevention, which is Markus and Stacy are talking about. Eating right and all those things. So that we have to give a top priority for the philosophy of the care. Philosophy of care is more important. The mid-leverage points are transparency. Transparency means interoperability, and then also price transparency. How much I'm paying, what is all those things. Transparency about my medical records. That's important, but it is not that mid-level importance that she's telling. Low leverage points are building resources, buffers, financial resources, all those things. You come back to help the people. It is a human-centered approach for AI healthcare. Medicare, Medicaid is failing. These healthcare system insurance plans are failing the people in the United States. It's just all over the world. We have health plans are really miserably failing in all the humanity. We have to come back with a new kind of methods proposed by Donna Meadows. Yeah. So access to 1,000 people. I want to tell you, if there are doctors around the world, Austria out of 1,000 population, Austria has a maximum number of doctors, 5. United States has 3. Brazil has a 2. I did for Ecuador. Total number of doctors in Ecuador is 37,000 people. I don't know. It comes around 3.4 or somewhere. It's not bad. Ecuador is not in the bad shape at all in that sense. I was surprised.
Medical system is wonderful here.
Yeah, I was when I was doing this research, I was surprised. When I was checking about that, Stacy, I was really impressed. The medical system is very good, better than India. In fact, I will tell you about that in a second. But India, we have so many doctors around the world, Indian doctors, but the Indian medical system, the healthcare system is very bad when compared to Ecuador has excellent healthcare system. Yeah, compared to that. Psychotherapists in India, Norway is out of 1,003 people, 3 psychotherapists in Norway. We need. Germany has 2, United States has a 0.6, really bad shape. In Turkey has a 0.008, it's really, really bad. So it's I don't know, Ecuador probably they don't need it probably. They're living in the mountains. They don't need that
Maybe
They're
population.
happy.
So, so then maternal mortality rate, for example, I'll give you Finland is the lowest maternal mortality rate in 3 out of 100,000 people, 3 mothers die. Still, every mother counts, but that is a 3 out of 100,000. United States is really high now. It is unbelievable. Our mortality rate went up 17.4. It's not. It's just unbelievable. It's unacceptable for an advanced country like this. 17.4. We have to do. India is the worst. This is the worst. One of the 174 women die out of 100,000 because of the birth, giving a life. Think about this. We have to go a long way. India can always say that they're advanced, but you have to really address the healthcare system as a measurement of how the country is progressing. So South Sudan is just unbelievable. As a humanity, we cannot accept that. Every 1,200 women die every year. It is just half of the women almost die in that sense. If you combine the maternal mortality, sick people, everything you combine, latter stages dying from the giving of birth, it's just unbelievable, staggering number South Sudan is. We are humanity. We're spectators for all this unbelievable cruelty. Okay, so there is a shortage of 1.1 million midwives, which we are shortage in the world. Infant mortality, Ecuador, for example, Ecuador is a 65.7. Is bad, but is not totally bad. It is better than you see. India is 100. China is even higher than Ecuador. So Ecuador is not bad in that sense, but still they have to go a long way. So the infant mortality, the people die in the live births. Out of 1,000 people, Morocco is the smallest. African country is the smallest than United States. Can you believe that? Morocco has a 1.5. In the United States is 5.4. India has a 28 children die every 1,000 kids. Afghanistan is just a staggering number. There used to be 100, now it's a 43, and Ecuador is 10. It's not bad. It's just, I'm not saying any baby dying is bad, but it's just in the acceptable levels is just unbelievable in certain countries. Then access to 1 million, then access to mammograms, for example. I don't have much information about Ecuador, but access to 1 million. Greece has a 67 for a 1 million population, 67 mammograms in Greece. United States is 75, and Poland has only 10. That's the lowest. MRIs in Japan has the highest, 57 for 1 million. United States has only 34. India has 20. Mexico has 2. Very, very low. Only a good thing is that we have a cellular network. We did a very good job in that one. 65 would be cell phone users in the world. Out of 65 would be out of 100. 47 out of 1,000, I think. Maybe I did. So 47 would be active out of 100. 47 would be active internet users. 95 live in an area with a mobile cellular network. We did a great job in that. That's the only thing proud of. So we have an excellent cellular networks. Now I'm talking with Ecuador in a small village place in Ecuador in the mountains. Talking that is a testament to the cellular network. We had a great network. So quality measures in the United States, quality measures are measured in the United States: inpatient prevention, patient safety, and pediatric care. That's the quality measures. The quality of the healthcare system is measured in the United States. A lot of doctors don't even know is inpatient, how many people die when they come in and then they survive. Prevention is one of them. Patient safety, how they, the wrong medications and all those things. Pediatric care is one of those quality measures we do in the United States. Then we have cost measures in the United States: support cost and patient cost and cost of resources. All of the cost measures, that is the standards that we do. But the World Health Organization has a different structure. They measure the quality different way: effective, safe, people-centered, timely, efficient, integrated. All of them are important. There are the measurements. They do measures in that point. 8 million people die every year because of the poor quality of healthcare system. Poor quality, just quality down. The quality itself. I'm not talking about not access anything. Quality, because of the lack of quality, the 8 million people die every year in the world. So, so doctors in the world are 12.8 million people. Doctors in America is a 1 million almost. Nurses in the world is 27 million, and nurses in the United States in 5.35 million. Health professionals around the world, we don't know yet. Mental health professionals, 1.2 million people in the world. So we have a so then who is the we want to know who is the countries with the oldest people in the world. Japan. That's why they're living longer. Right? They live longer. That's why they live there. The oldest people live in Italy. Stacy was mentioning Germany, China. They have all of them. Oldest people live there. The longer living people, oldest people in Japan is the number one. But they're number wise now. They're not having kids nowadays in Japan and other countries. So a lot of old people are left now in those countries. So it's becoming old countries. These are all. The youngest countries, if surprised to you, continent of Africa, not India, not any other country. Um, Ecuador has a relatively young population, but Africa has the youngest population. Niger, Mali, Uganda, Somalia, they're the youngest population. So we need to be nice to them. Otherwise, they need to help us when we get older. So Donna Meadows died at the age of 59 with the cerebral. She got bacterial meningitis. Inspiring environmentalist and scholar, teacher, and writer, and Sustainability Institute. She did that. She was a champion for the environment. She started a Rome Club, and she was, until her death, she was completely immersed in that. She started a farm in Vermont and lived in the farm, and then with her husband, and she championed really causes of the world and the human-centric system she created. She gave the framework for even the computers, what would be the future of the humanity. And we worked here. People don't know, an extraordinary woman and a smart woman, and gave us a lot of insights into the human psyche, human survival of the planet itself. Thank you for watching. Let me bring back my friends, Stacy and Markus. So, Stacy, what do you think?
That was amazing. I really appreciate learning more about her personally and her life. I have been aware of her work. I've seen the 100-person study previously, and I really love the quotes at the end where the quotes that you had in the bottom talked about first focusing on your village, then focusing on your country, then focusing on your continent, but in the end focusing on the entire planet. And I think we have been fortunate to live very blessed lives. When I look at the way that those 100 people are apportioned, I feel extremely fortunate. And we've been blessed to travel to, 50 or 60 countries, and we've lived on 4 or 5 continents, and we've traveled far and wide. And I say that not at the risk of sounding perhaps arrogant, but mostly to say that we've rubbed up against the skin of the human mosaic. And there is a human mosaic in religion. There's a human mosaic in skin color. There's a human mosaic in professions, in nationalities, in ethnicities. And that study was about separating people into different categories within the 100. But when you travel around and you rub up against the skin of the human mosaic, no matter how different people might look to you, no matter how different people might seem to you, or how they talk, or how they eat, or how they dress, what you learn over time is that everybody, no matter where they come from, no matter who they are, they all want to be seen, they all want to be heard, and they all want to be loved. And that we are all more similar than different when it comes right down to it. And so the choices that I make affect everybody else. And the choices that we make collectively can be for the greater good or not. And so with every single bite that we take of food with every single meal that we eat, we can choose to improve our personal health, and we can choose to make a more sustainable planetary health for all of us together, because the actions that we take individually affect everybody worldwide.
Very powerful. Very, very. Thank you. But Stacy, tell us how that you people you're helping people understanding this high achievement, that sort of high performance. How do you achieve high performance? Actually, tell us a little bit. Give us some insight into that.
Well, it's a little bit like building a house. First, you need to make sure that the foundation is solid. So you need to make sure you're covering your basics. You don't have any nutritional gaps. You're drinking adequate water. You're sleeping well. You're moving your body. You have close personal relationships. You've got your mindset in order. So many of the things that are part of the Blue Zone lifestyle. So to be high performance, first you have to have that foundation. And then when you want to build the house, you want to build your body, you have to do it with the right materials. If you don't have all the right materials, you're not going to be able to build a great house. You want to bring in all the right things. You want to make sure you're getting all of your nutrients and the phytonutrients, and the minerals, the vitamins, the fiber. And the next level of that is to use food as medicine, where you look at a person's constitution, their personal needs, and you can use precision dietary prescriptions that support them towards the health goals that they want to achieve. And one of the main parts of health that we work with people that I don't see in a lot of other places is that it's not so much about what you eat, it's what you absorb. So focusing on optimizing our systems of energy generation, of absorption of our nutrients, so that we are functioning optimally inside. It's like giving a car a tune-up. You want everything to hum just right. So then when you put the fuel in, your body can use it in the best way possible. And honestly, the body is the vehicle for our spirits. It's the vehicle that we're in, that we get to pursue our purpose and our passions and our professions in the world. And if it's functioning as optimally as possible, then we are better able to fulfill our purpose on the planet.
I love that quote, what he said just now. Our body is a vehicle for the spirit. That's what Markus is talking about, purposeful living, purpose living. Tell us a little bit about that. What is purpose living? I want to be honest with you. I was dabbling in my technology and all those things. And then I went through some hard time. Then I came back and then doing my education in physics, and it gave me purpose and motivated me to do a lot of things. Actually, the purpose of living is very powerful thing for everybody to have a purpose. Tell us a little bit about that, Markus and Stacy.
The first person that comes to mind is my grandmother. And my grandmother lived into her mid-80s, and she worked 40 hours a week up until she basically went into the hospital and 5 days later died. And she was an amazing woman, super strong, very simple, very directed. And, about, 6 or 7 or 8 years before my grandmother passed away, I asked her, because she was still working 40 hours a week at like 83 years of age. What are your secrets, Grandma? If you had to tell me the things that I should be doing right now in order to live a life like yours, a life well lived, what would they be? And she said, she thought about it for a couple of minutes, and she said, I think it's pretty simple. I think you have to have a reason to get up in the morning. I think you need to eat good food. And 3 was, I think you need to get good sleep. And I thought, well, geez, if it could be that simple, right? I just have to have a reason to get up. I have to eat good food, and I have to get good sleep, and I can live, a very enriched, fulfilled, meaningful life. And I think when you go back to the Blue Zone work, they looked at the five main places that people live to over 100 years of age, and Dan Buettner in his work looked at 5 specific factors for each of those places. So he came up with 25 different key success factors, let's call them, for those 5 places. And when you take those factors and you kind of lump them and clump them into main categories, it comes down to eat mostly plants, move your body well, have a reason to get up in the morning. But the number one factor in all of these places that contributes to the longest lived, healthiest lives is meaningful relationships. We are social creatures when it comes right down to it. And having a reason to get up in the morning and having somebody to share that with as well is probably the most powerful thing that you can do in order to maximize your happiness, in order to maximize your well-being, in order to maximize the spiritual experience that you're having in your physical body.
So, Stacy, what is your website? They give us I just put in the on your name anywhere there. Stacy, what is that website? Can you repeat that?
It is called Your Vegan Family.
Your Vegan Family. Okay.
It is. And we know that vegan is a bit of a buzzword. Marcus began eating a plant-based diet long before vegan had a definition.
30 years ago plus.
So we know it's a bit of a hot button these days. And if people work with us, they don't have to eat a plant-based diet. We meet people wherever they are, and we help them eat more plants and enjoy it. We want people to have nutritious and delicious diets that support their well-being and make them happy. So yourveganfamily.com is our website. I'm also on LinkedIn. We're both on LinkedIn, Stacy and Markus Naugle, and you can always reach out and send us a message there.
You're truly, I'm so honored to talk with you guys. That people like you, we need more of you, that in this planet, because we need really lost the direction to the whole humanity. We need a more and more. What makes priority for us as a humans is that eating the right things and living the right way is the one. So thank you so much. It's truly an honor and privilege to have you on my show. Thank you so much, guys. If you want to hang around for a few minutes after the show, I can talk with you. So just stay there. Thank you all. Thank you for joining. It is an absolutely honor. And then let me, that Stacy and Markus Naugle from Casino, Ecuador. Yourveganfamily.com. Go there, and you offer some classes too, right, Stacy?
We do. We have online programs that are group programs as well as individual programs. And they are Burn Bright, Not Out is our primary program. We help people have a diet and lifestyle that helps them live for excellence as well as longevity.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Markus and Stacy.
It's been a blessing
talking with you. Just a good night.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it.